Now I'll show you guys how I like to set up and arrange tracks in a project. First, I'll drag my MIDI track to the top, and I'm going to multi-select all of the unused audio tracks by clicking and dragging down on the number, right-clicking and choosing Delete Track. And I'll hit F on my QWERTY keyboard again to fit the remaining tracks to the screen. I'm also going to set up each track with its own unique track icon. I'll start with my kick drum track by right-clicking in its default icon and choosing Load Track Icon. SONAR ships with hundreds of icons in all different categories, or you can load your own pictures too. For my kick drum, I'll open up the drums folder and load a kick icon. Now I'll give my snare track a new icon. Up next is the hi-hat. And the tom-toms. And last but certainly not least, the cymbals. Okay, I'm not going to ask you to watch paint dry, but I am going to go ahead and name my tracks. Those of you who mix your drum tracks through a drum bus, please raise your hand. For those of you who still have your arm at your side, pay attention, because mixing drums through a drum bus is a fundamental and important part of mixing drums. And here's how you do it in SONAR. First, I'm going to go down to the bus pane at the bottom of the screen. I'll collapse the master bus, right-click just below it, and choose to insert a stereo bus. Okay, no more typing, I promise. But I am going to load another track icon. The next thing I need to do is route all of my drum tracks to the drum bus, and I can do this in one fell swoop by multi-selecting those tracks, again by clicking and dragging down on the track numbers. Now I'll click on the output of one of the tracks. It can be any of the tracks because they're multi-selected, so I'll open the hi-hats drop-down menu and choose Selected Track Outputs. From the pop-up window, I'll select the Audio Outputs tab and choose the drum bus as my source. When I click OK, all of my drum tracks will be routed to the drum bus simultaneously. Now Session Drummer 3 is all set up with multiple outputs, a drum bus, and the track view's all neat and tidy with track names and track icons. So I'm ready to start creating some patterns and mixing them down, but before I do, I want to show you some patterns that come with Session Drummer 3, as well as SONAR's ability to manage and play them back. As you can hear, I've got some grooves going through the Motown kit, playing back in Session Drummer 3's pattern bank. So let's say you find a pattern in Session Drummer that you like and you want to use it in the project. Put your mouse over the drag and drop icon, click, hold, and drag it right into the track view. And because these patterns are groove clips, aka loops, you can slip edit the end of them and roll them out to repeat them as many times as you want. It's so easy. And you can double click the pattern to open it up in the piano roll view for traditional MIDI editing. Or for more advanced editing, you can open up the patterns in the step sequencer, which I'll show you in just a second. But first I'm going to show you SONAR's media browser, which is located in a tab at the bottom of the screen. The media browser is basically a window into your system's file structure. You can locate and preview many types of files, including audio files, MIDI files, even audio from video files. You can preview one-shots and loops, and even have the loops play back at the project tempo. The media browser has a nice little feature called Content Location Presets, which are basically shortcuts to your files. All of the loops and patterns that come with SONAR already have content location presets built into the media browser, including a location for all of the Session Drummer 3 loops, including those by Smart Loops, Steven Slate, and the Groove Monkey loops. The Groove Monkey loops come in many different styles like blues, country, funk, hip-hop, metal, and rock, so I'm going to browse through some of the rock loops. To preview a loop, turn on Auto Preview, choose the synth you want to preview it through, and then click the file. Let's say I want to use this pattern in my project. All I have to do is drag and drop it onto my MIDI track. Now I can roll it out and repeat it as many times as I want. And like I showed you before, I can double-click the pattern to open up the piano roll view for traditional MIDI editing, or for more advanced editing, I can open up SONAR's step sequencer view and drag and drop the pattern into that. One really cool thing about this is the step sequencer will ask me if I want to preserve the pattern's original timing or if I want it to lock everything to the grid. But editing someone else's MIDI track is not why I'm here. So I'm going to get rid of these patterns which I've added to the project and get started on making my own drum track with the step sequencer. This is where the fun begins.